Hello students, good morning. I am Dr. S.R. Bhargav, Department of English, Associate Professor, Government PG College, Khejdi. Today I will teach you the second lesson of the syllabus English Literature, Paper 2, Prose and Fiction. The name of the topic is A Bookish Topic, A Critical Appreciation. As you know that in this essay we will talk about the writer R.K. Narayan and his essay A Bookish Topic. First of all, I will introduce you R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan, his full name is Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Iyer Narayan Swamy. He is widely held as one of the greatest and most popular authors in Indian literature. His trademark pithy but elegant style had a lot to do with introducing this very genre to the rest of the world. No ode to R.K. Narayan would be complete without at least a brief mention of Malgudi. As you know, the students, Malgudi is very well connected to R.K. Narayan's novels. It's a artificial or superficious place, imaginary place in South, the streets and alleys of which are as familiar to Narayan's fan as the secret passages of Hogwarts or a Potterhead. Almost all his works are set in this fictional town, which is supposed to be imagined along the lines of Bangalore. Narayan was one of the most intelligent writers of his age. The Malgudi in his books is shown to be a dynamic entity. The town we read in his debut novel 1935 is noticeably different from that in his last fictional work. Theme of the essay. The theme of this present essay, A Bookish Topic, is related to the theory that the writer advises the readers not to lend books because if they give or they lend books, it is very difficult to get it back. This novel is a very well structured humorous work. In this essay, Narayan very emphatically narrates his experience with such a person who borrowed one of Narayan's books from him for reading. Narayan very enthusiastically handed over him his book but later kept on waiting for him to return the same. After an adequate level of patience, Narayan one day approached him and asked for his book, and to his surprise, what he found was that the person on whom he trusted with his book has forgotten about it completely and puts an excuse that he did not forget his book and once he reads will return. After many days again the writer approached him and was surprised with another excuse that he had given his brother-in-law the book for reading and is not aware where he had kept the book. On this the writer gets furious and tells himself actually such people don't deserve any book. And he recalls himself of a man who had the greatest library and he was so particular for his books that whenever he lends somebody a book, he keeps a record in the ledger about it, and whose every returns after the expected date or lodges, it is charged with a fine. That man never spared anybody for it, not even his own son-in-law. The writer believes in future he will not lend anybody his book and will never get in such a situation where he loses his book and faces the mindless attitude of careless people who actually don't possess traits of the reader but pretends that they are good reader. Now the writer clarifies, explains that he is not in the mood to lend book because he quotes an example of a friend. Once he gave him a book but he did not return it back. Many times he was asked by the writer and every time he made excuses. He also tells that his friend started to make a record that everybody would get book or not, it will be recorded in his diary. Now the critics often classify Narayan as arising out of the tradition of oral story telling. Reviewers note his gift for wry, subtle humor, which he uses to expose the foibles of being human. Narayan at his best is a consummate teller of timeless tales, a meticulous recorder of the ironies of human life, an acute observer of the possibilities of the ordinary. Narayan's comedy is the focus of many reviews, and it is commonly held that his is a gentle humor. Hilary Mantel says, at the heart of Narayan's achievement is this: he respects his characters, respects their created natures. This is why he can make jokes about them and stay friends with them. Critics also point out his ability to give individual stories arising out of a unique cultural experience, universal significance. Reviewers assert that the creations of the fictional Malgudi helps Narayan's portray the flavor of Indian life without worrying about the specificities of a real city. In the essay, A Bookish Topic, he narrates the mentality of such people who accumulate books to pretend that they have good taste for reading, but he lacks in maintaining the dignity of returning the books, borrowed books. His expressions and narrations in the essay are so simple that the emphatically influences the reader and they can correlate with it very easily. The text of the lines are such that the writer begins the essay, my blackest thoughts are reserved for those who borrow my books. I am unable to forgive a man who fails to return a book he has taken from myself. From myself. I would not hesitate to tell him precisely what I thought of him if he would only give me a chance to speak. But as a general rule, the book pirate shows no inclination to continue his friendship with men. Now look at the satire, irony the writer makes for his friend. He addresses him pirates, dacoits, who robs the property. Now pirates are called the person who borrow books but do not return. He stoops beside his hedge and remains still until I have safely passed his gate. If he meets me on the road face to face, he doubles his pace with an air of one going desperately in search of a doctor. It is a matter of life and death to someone, and he has no time to engage himself in any conversation, centering round some miserable book in a weak moment. This is the worst of the book pirate. He begins to feel that it was due to some weakness that he has ever entertained the idea for using such and such a book, while a busy man like him could find no time even to read his newspaper fully. Later it develops into an aversion both of the book and the man who lent him it. Now the writer describes that such people meet by chance, and whenever they meet they make excuses. They try to hide themselves behind the hedges, and they tell excuses that they are going to visit doctor as they are not well. I have not yet read, but I would like to, if I may. And the lender of the book, even ever a generous brute, says, oh yes, by all means keep it. You have kept it so long, it would be pointless if you return it without going through it. Keep it, keep it. At the next meeting, the lender feels delicate to ask again about the book. A few months pass, and then a happy new year, another happy new one, and suddenly you realize that the gap in your sale book is still there. And then one day you abruptly begin the meeting with them. Where is the book? Which book? Ask the gentleman. When you have succeeded in stimulating his memory, he only says, oh, that I will have to search for it. Naturally, you don't like that tone and say, well, why not search now? Your instinct now tells you will never see your book. You will feel that you are now seeing humanity as the as its worst. Words fail you. You can't trust yourself further and you go away. At the next meeting, the man says brazenly, with an air of condescending to giving a thought your subject. I have not found your book. I was out of town for a while on business. I believe it must be with my brother in law. You know my brother in law. I don't. Why don't you get it back from him? I will certainly. He replies mechanically, or I will myself go and beg him to return it. Where is he? That's what I must find out. He has been a tour. Why not send him a letter? I will bear the postal expenses. Or letters are not good. He is a very bad correspondent. The whereabouts of the book you feel are already trailing away into indefiniteness. At the next meeting, the gentleman goes behind his haze, disowns you completely. It is under this condition you become a misanthrope and ask why it is that you can't complain to the police about the loss of your book. In a, in a more perfectly arranged world, it shows you would be it would be possible. At the next election, my vote goes to the party which pledges itself to eliminate, along with illiteracy, poverty, and disease, book borrowing from our society. I am scrutinizing every manifesto and party program for this possible promise. All of us love to keep our books and also share the delight of good reading with others. This is an impossible combination and turns out to be a painful experiment. If you love your books, don't lend it to anyone on earth. This really ought to be one's guiding principle. You can't lend your books and yet have them just as you cannot your cake and have it. I know only one person who has achieved both. He lends book and yet retains his library in safe. He has an elaborately built up library at home and he is most enthusiastic in lending out books, provided the borrower, even if he happens to be his son-in-law, signs a ledger, returns the book on the proper date, he levies a fine of 6 pages per day if the book is held over beyond the due date, and he ruthlessly demands the replacement of aunt book that's lost. If he should be told, my brother-in-law must have taken it and I don't know where he is, he would have replied, surely wouldn't you would have replied, surely you wouldn't have allowed your brother-in-law to walk with one of chairs, coats or spoons. How dare anyone think that he can be as irresponsible as he likes where a book is concerned? Don't tell me about your brother-in-law. I am interested only in my books. It cost 9 rupees plus postage. Write at once to so and so booksellers. Now it is important to know the price. The book costs about 9 rupees, excluding postal charges. This book lover has been called rude, pugnacious, pretty minded, and so forth. But it doesn't bother him. He knows where his favorite volumes are to be found at any given moments. As an author may, my problem is a little more complicated. I have, or rather try to have it in myself, not only books written by others, but also those written by me. An author may be pardoned if he likes to have his own books too in his library. It may not at all be vanity. He may have to work further on it for its subsequent edition, or he may value it for being the first copy to arrive from his publishers. A publisher gives only 6 copies for presentation when a book come out. While I am prepared to scatter 5 abroad, I like to be free to keep the sixth. But where is it? Whenever I wish to see any of my own books for any purpose, I borrow it from a library. I wish others would also do the same thing instead of asking complacently, why should an author want his own books? Now the writer pathetically shows the condition of the writer, how he lent a book to his friend but was unable to get it back, and whenever he tried to find it back, he got only assurances excuses, etc. Now, conclusion. A bookish topic by Arkanan is well structured, humorous work. In this essay, Narayan very emphatically narrates his experience with such a person who borrowed one of Narayan's books from him for reading. Narayan very enthusiastically handed over him his book but later kept on waiting for him to return the same. After an adequate level of patience, Narayan one day approached him and asked for his book, and to his surprise, what he found was that the person on whom he trusted with his book has forgotten about it completely and puts an excuse that he didn't forget his book and once he reads will return. His own son-in-law, the writer believes in future he will not lend anybody his book and will never get in such a situation where he loses his book and faces the mindless attitude of careless people who actually don't possess traits of a reader but pretends that they are good reader. Thank you.